lovely people of the internet. So today is a Harry Potter inspired video. I have recently been reading an awful lot of Harry Potter fan theories, which I absolutely love because they are normally super inspired and helps me start thinking about my own, which is really good fun. So I thought I would put together a video of my top 20 favourites. There's probably going to be tons more that come out that will supersede these. You might point out some that supersede these, but yeah, I just wanted to have a good discussion about them because I love a good Harry Potter fan theory. Let's go. So in no particular order, the first one is the small class theory, and this is the idea that actually it appears that in Harry Potter's year at Hogwarts there aren't actually that many students, and this could be because their parents were all of the generation that were caught up in the war with Voldemort. It's not a huge theory, it's like, you know, there's not a huge deduction going on, but it is an interesting one. Next up, I do quite like this one, and this is the idea that because Harry was an accidental Horcrux, maybe the Dursleys were quite as cool to him as they were because of that. That ties in with the fact that obviously Ron goes a bit weird around the Horcruxes when they're finding all of them and destroying them. So it kind of makes sense, and yeah, people have pointed out that actually the Dursleys get kind of nicer to Harry once he's like not living with them as much, and then once he's not a Horcrux. So yeah, interesting. Next up is the idea that actually Neville isn't actually that bad at magic as he is at the start. It's because he was using his father's wand, and that as soon as he gets his own wand he seems to improve. Which plays in quite nicely to another theory that I like, which is that actually Neville could have actually been the chosen one, and that the only reason Harry ends up having to fulfill that role is because Voldemort chooses him as the solution to the prophecy over Neville. I suppose it kind of plays into the fact that, yeah, obviously Neville's parents were also in the Order. Their birthdays are around a similar time. If he's good at magic and it's only the wand at the start that was stopping him, then he's quite a good wizard. It's theorised that Quirrell tried to knock him off his broom in that first flying lesson, a bit like what he did to Harry, which is interesting that maybe they were still playing off who could potentially be the chosen one at that point. And then there's the fact that ultimately Neville is sort of the one that kills Voldemort because he kills Nagini. Interesting. A quite bittersweet theory that I like is the idea that you could take the theory about Harry Potter and Voldemort not being able to live unless the other one dies. People have theorised that you could spin it that actually it's a case of they're the only ones that can kill each other, which means now that Voldemort is dead, is Harry immortal, which means he'll never be reunited with his parents. I like the symbolism of this next theory, which is the theory that the final fight scene in the Deathly Hallows is representative of the first 6 books. And that is that you've got Ron and Hermione fight an ugly creature like in the first book. Then they face spiders like in the second book. Then they encounter a werewolf like in the 3rd book. Then Dementors appear like in the 4th book. Then the Order of the Phoenix appears like in the 5th book. And then Snape appears representing the 6th book. I do quite like that, and I think it plays in nicely because obviously we know that JK uses a lot of symbolism and like she throws back to different things a lot of the time. So yeah, it's a good one. This one I definitely like as a Harry Potter fan, which is the idea that JK Rowling is actually a banished Rita Skeeter from the Wizarding World, who then decided to write about it as fiction, so which means that all of it's true. Wouldn't that be good? This one I only read recently and I do find very interesting, which is the idea that the Muggles have already fought a war with wizards and they're the ones that won. The reasons for that theory are that it's a Ministry of Magic, making it sound like a department rather than a full government, and the fact that the Minister for Magic has to report certain things to the Muggle Prime Minister a lot, which makes it sound like, which more sounds like the kind of thing where the Muggles have demanded that of the wizards rather than it being something that the wizards think they have to do for the Muggles. I'm not sure how I feel about that because I'm not entirely sure how the Muggles would have won. Yeah, interesting. Next one is quite simple, but I do quite like it, and it's the idea that the Golden Trio are all only in Gryffindor because they had the courage to ask, and that actually Hermione would possibly be a Ravenclaw, Ron would possibly be a Hufflepuff, and Harry would have possibly been Slytherin. I do love a good theory that links the Fantastic Beasts worlds to the original Harry Potter worlds, and that is the idea that it was Newt Scamander that gave Hagrid Aragog. do quite like that one because it was from a traveller from a distant country and Newt did come back to Hogwarts. I do like the theory that Trelawney wasn't actually completely wrong when she did her prediction for Harry, and that actually the birthday she was reading was Voldemort's because he's a Horcrux. Do quite like that one because I think she gets a lot of stick for not being actually very good, and maybe she actually is. This next theory I read ages ago, but I definitely still like it, and it's the idea that Harry, Voldemort and Snape represent the three brothers in the Tales of Beedle and the Bard, and that Dumbledore is deaf. I think it does play quite nicely, maybe more symbolic, it's not obviously literal, but yeah, it definitely works, and I think it's nice because it's a good reason to have the Tales of the Beedle and the Bard in the Harry Potter world. Another theory that links Fantastic Beasts to the original world, it doesn't have much to it yet, but it could be interesting, and that is the idea that Credence Barebone is potentially Voldemort's father. Main backing behind that is that JK has said that he will play an important role, and that would be an interesting one for him to have. Let's see. Another simple one I like is the encounter that Harry has with the centaurs in the Forbidden Forest in the first book. Suggests that they know that the final fight between him and Voldemort will also be there. I do think that's quite interesting, and I always love when it's pointed out that something from right at the beginning actually links to something right at the end. Always like that. My third link between Fantastic Beasts and the original Harry Potter books, and that is the idea that Dumbledore gave Neville the 10 points to Gryffindor in the first book for having the courage to stand up to his friends, because that links to the fact that he had to defeat Grindelwald. This next theory I like because of its accidental qualities again, and it's that the divination predictions that Harry and Ron write off in the Goblet of Fire actually came true. He's put in danger of burns in the first task, he loses a treasured possession during the second one, he's stabbed in the back by a friend, which is Professor Moody, and finally he comes off worse in a fight. I do quite like that. I like the fact that it's something that, yeah, you probably write off, but then actually it's a case of, no, actually there was a purpose behind that in the writing because it did actually all come true. This link I find interesting. It's more of a link again rather than a full-blown theory, but I do like it, and it's the fact that Voldemort actually killed all of his own Horcruxes. Most of them were destroyed by basilisk venom, either directly venom or what was in Gryffindor's sword, which Voldemort technically allowed access to by opening the Chamber of Secrets. The diadem was destroyed by Crabbe with a spell that he learnt from the Death Eaters, and Voldemort destroyed the one that was in Harry. Oops. An interesting one that I like, again that I've only read recently, is the idea that Sirius and Harry could actually be related somehow. Because on the Black family tree there is a Charles Potter with an unnamed son. Now it's been debunked that these are the parents of James Potter, but they could still be his grandparents or some other distant Potter relative, which would mean that Harry and Sirius are actually potentially related. However, that is now more bittersweet because it's like, well, he lost more family, yay! This last theory I have to like as a huge Disney fan, and that is the idea that Mary Poppins is a witch and could have been part of the Harry Potter universe because she uses magic a lot, and she has a bag, a bit like Hermione's, that has more room on the inside. But yeah, so I have to like that one because who wouldn't? So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, do give it a big thumbs up. If you haven't already, do hit that subscribe button if you want to see more. Let me know in the comments down below what you thought of my favourites, what your favourite theories are, and if there's any theories that I haven't included that you think are interesting, because I might not have read them and I would love to hear them. I'll also pop some links to some videos here that you might be interested in, and I will see you in my next one. See ya!